Bang. And that bang you hear this time is the Bitcoin banging lower. Welcome back, folks. I'm Jon Najarian. He is Monty, and CJ is recovering from his second COVID shot. So hope you're feeling better, CJ. I've got both of my COVID shots as well, and didn't have any feeling on either one. I didn't even feel the needle go in. Maybe my skin's numb or something. But boy, the needle is so small that they use, Monty.
Yeah.
Never even felt the needle, and luckily, I know probably 1 in 3 people or so feel some sort of discomfort. I was lucky that I didn't, but I just kept moving the arm around like they told me to do, and never got feverish or sick in any way. So,
Well, John, not everyone wakes up at 4 a.m. and runs around the lake in a weighted vest every morning. So I don't know if your health is necessarily the average.
Well, and there got to be people that are healthier than me that probably still get some sort of reaction. So, but maybe it is. Maybe it is that if you do a lot of physical exertion, maybe it does help. Again, we don't know yet. Even with the Johnson & Johnson vaccine, 7 women out of, I think, 7 or 8 million doses, so 1 in a million shot, to have that rare blood clotting from that single dose Johnson & Johnson vaccine. And I'm, of course, not giving commentary as a virologist or anything else. I'm just citing the facts that they put forth, and that's pretty low chance of death. Now, obviously, we haven't seen anything out of Pfizer or Moderna as far as any of the clotting issues, but it is a different delivery mechanism, the messenger RNA versus the more traditional that Johnson & Johnson and AstraZeneca use. But we'll keep our eye on it, folks, as we are keeping our eye on Bitcoin, because you want to pop up that whale map just to show them, maybe, Monty?
Yeah.
Because one of the things that we all kind of like to watch are these whale maps. The guys that came up with this are pretty smart folks, and they more or less show you where whale wallets are being opened. Whales are defined as someone that owns over 1,000 coins. Some of you might be saying, how do they know? Well, because every Bitcoin has an address, and you can actually look at where that wallet is, which also has an address. You don't know who the person is, but you know all the people in the world that have over 1,000 Bitcoins. And so Whale Maps charts that, looks at it for inflows, outflows, and so forth. And apparently, there were a lot of inflows for these whales at certain levels that have been pretty predictive, at least in the past. But the whales seem to have taken it on the chin on this drop, Monty.
Yeah, John, this has been a pretty crazy 24 hours. And, a lot of it's coming on the back of this news coming out of Washington with the potential of a tax rate hike as high as 43.4% for capital gains. So I think that scared a lot of crypto traders. It was interesting to see kind of the extent to which that this tax capital gains news, really affected the crypto markets in general. But I think one thing I like to do when we get this sort of volatile price action is take a step back and look at the weekly chart, because I think, not only can we see some significant levels here, we can kind of get some, more perspective on the price action we've been seeing just so far in 2021. So one thing that, AJ Monty highlighted in our webinar with him is the power of this 20-period simple moving average. And, although it feels like we're falling very fast, relative to how quickly we went up, I mean, we still potentially have a lot of room to go. But one thing that I think is very likely is a bounce off this moving average that is, kind of converging on our current price action. So that might happen around 45, 46K. And my reason for thinking this is because we've seen it in other assets as well. And I just want to quickly go back to the whale maps chart. that John was referencing, because, I think that this is very telling. Retail traders are important, but the whales are everything to this market. And I think it's so important to note this huge accumulation that's happening in between these levels of 56 and 54K. When we saw this initial dip right here, it was kind of questionable at what level the whales would be content to accumulate, but we saw it happen in great quantities at 56 and 54K. Now, one thing that CJ pointed out yesterday is another critical level of whale accumulation of 51K. And I think that's exactly what we're seeing right now, is a strong amount of whales accumulating Bitcoin right around, the 51 to 48K level. So it's retail hands are being flushed out on the market, but that Bitcoin is going straight into the deep, deep pockets of some very big whales. So really interesting flow of capital going on here in the crypto space, but, great buying opportunities across the board is the way I see it.
Yep, I agree. I bought BTC on this dip again, and again, I'm sounding like a broken record, but I take the same advice that I give, Monty, which is that I don't think anybody has to go all in. Now, some of these people who are running firms, corporations, and it's other people's money, might buy $55 million worth of Bitcoin in a single, shot, and a slug, if you will. But for the rest of us, I think it's prudent to buy on dips, buying small, getting started. So if you're somebody who's been watching this program and you didn't buy it up over 63,000 BTC, that is, congratulations. You have the opportunity now to buy on a pretty significant dip from 63 to 49.3, where it is right now. And I'm not going to tell you that you have to do it. Just going to say, if you were somebody that was looking at getting in, these are the kinds of moves you use to build a position in Bitcoin. Now, some of the altcoins, Bitcoin dominance fell below 50 yesterday. It's back to almost 51 today. And that's probably because of the dip that occurred overnight. And I think, as Monty has correctly cited, that dip is the same dip that occurred in the stock market. It's not the same percentage, but think of all the folks who have held BTC long-term. And at some point, most of them that are American and not wanting to pull some nefarious move and try to do it, without paying taxes, tax man will come for you, folks, if you try that. So certainly we never encourage that. But for a lot of the vast majority of crypto holders, they do know that the tax man cometh, and if they've held over a year, an asset over a year, they're probably looking at paying that low 20% rate, and very scared, frustrated, pick your adjective, for the potential of a 40+% capital gains hit that you might take. Now, I would say for the BTC holders, keep in mind that is for people earning over $1 million. Now, some of you may have gains of over $1 million in your crypto. Congratulations, fantastic. But it's yet to be determined. Number one, we don't know if a bill would work its way from being a bill to passing the House and Senate. The House is almost as tight as the Senate. There's about a 5 or 6 vote swing there that, if it went one way or the other, could block such a bill. Likewise, Mr. Manchin, Senator Manchin, from West Virginia, is not a fan of increasing corporate taxes to the level the president wanted to. He's already said 25% max, otherwise we become uncompetitive. Now, that means that it wouldn't be, if all the Republicans stood firm with the rest, and Joe Manchin did not vote with the Biden increase in corporate tax and or increase in capital gains tax, it means that it couldn't pass, because the vice president, Kamala Harris, only gets to vote if it's a 50-50 tie. If it's 49-51, her vote doesn't come in and it doesn't count. Of course, it couldn't produce a majority anyway in that case. But yeah, she doesn't vote. She only gets to be a tiebreaker. So if Joe Manchin doesn't move along with this 40% move, and I don't think he will, then I don't think this bill passes. And you need that even for reconciliation, folks, for those of you who are focused on that. So I think yesterday was a little overreaction out of the market. Obviously, the S&P has come back halfway today. I think it's a little overreaction in the crypto market too, which has not come back so much today and had a pretty significant drop from roughly 54.8 down to 47.8. I think something like that, Monty. You know, so $7,000 out of a $54,000 asset. You know, that's significantly, 12 times bigger than the drop that the market experienced in percentage terms. So, but there will be one thing that there is certainty about, Monty, is if this bill were to pass, and I wrote this up for our guys on Market Rebellion, as well as over on CNBC. If this bill were to pass, it would mean that there's no incentive to hold for the long term. Again, big if, but if that happened, that would mean we would see far more short-term trading. Why do I say that? Because one of the reasons people don't trade short-term and instead hold long-term is they want to achieve that lower tax rate. If it didn't matter, if it's the same ordinary income versus capital gains, if they were at a par, which they have been, they were at a par, Monty, in I think 1918 or thereabouts, right around World War I. They were, at the same level, and subsequent to that, the capital gains rate has been dropping while the ordinary income rates move up and down all the time, depending on the administrations. And sometimes capital gains rate is part of that, but nonetheless, capital gains has been less than half of what the upper end pay in taxes. So I'm long-winded, Monty, but I think it would result in, number one, a lot more trading. Who's that good for? Coinbase, New York Stock Exchange, NASDAQ, Chicago Board Option Exchange, CME. Those five immediately. You can throw somebody like our sponsor, Voyager, into that mix, because if people don't have to hold long-term, they're going to trade. Because they're going to own it. But obviously, when we get up to levels, whether it's whale maps or any kind of technical level that Monty or CJ cite, you're going to see people selling at those levels, buying on support and so forth. I think it increases throughput on the exchanges dramatically. And that's why they're probably sitting back and not applauding, but they're quietly kind of sitting there, Monty, going, this could be really good for us. So just to put it out there, it's not bad for everybody. Obviously, I think we're still talking about something that's an if, not a certainty.
Yeah, John, that's really interesting. There are a ton of angles to this that need consideration. And, we see it all the time in the opposite direction, instances of buying the rumor and selling the news. And, I think if this doesn't go through, we're going to see something, on the opposite side of the spectrum where people are, selling the rumor yesterday and hopefully buying the news if we get, some more positive news. But yeah, a lot to watch out for going forward, especially with, these taxes. So we'll be keeping an eye on that. But without further ado, John, are you ready for our Doge of the day?
I think I am.
Very nice.
Do you want me to kick it off today, Monty?
Sure. What do you got for us?
All right. When Monty and I were talking about Bitcoin dominance, folks, we're talking about, how many people are flowing into Bitcoin versus the rest of, the other 6,000 coins that are out there or whatever. And when Bitcoin dominance falls below 50%, normally they say it's altcoin season. I've mentioned already that we're back up to 51% or 50.9% Bitcoin dominance. So we're back over 50. Ethereum is 14.4%, and then you've got the rest. So as always, I'm looking for that volume. I'm looking for some of these assets, Monty, that have had some pretty interesting corrections. I might even say I'm looking at Doge. So Doge is my Doge of the day at this 22 cent level, 22 28 or whatever it is, Monty. In other words, just shy of 23. I think Doge looks pretty interesting on the chart for the volume that I see in the Doge contract that's picked up. Obviously, it picked up this week into 420 and into 420. Let's see, it had a high trade of about $35 billion. It bled off to being about $10 billion in a 24-hour clock. Now we've been building back up, Monty, to about $17–18 billion. So I'm looking for it to move back to 30 cents, and then I'll use that as a trade. So 23, roughly 22.8 or 9, up to 30 is my trade range for the Doge of the day. Doge.
Okay. Doge is John's Doge of the day. Easy to remember. And yeah, John, I think it's, there's so many interesting opportunities in this market right now, right? We're seeing such tremendous volume and such tremendous corrections as well. I think there's, a lot of interesting ways to play this market. One asset that I have kind of picked out today for my Doge of the day is one that you, like you said, John, had a very interesting correction last night, and that is StormX. I talk a lot about StormX. Full disclosure, I do hold StormX. And, a lot of my Doges of the day are based on technical things. But today, it's more, a fundamental element of what makes StormX unique and what brings it value. And for those of you who don't know, StormX is a cashback crypto. So if anything you purchase through the StormX app, they're partnered with companies like eBay, Nike, Adidas, Walmart. You can make purchases through the app, and then you'll get crypto back through the StormX app. You can get Bitcoin, Etherium, StormX, and others. And, we talked so much today about the implications of capital gains tax. Well, one thing that is really interesting and worth noting is that rewards and cash back are not technically capital gains. They're not counted as income. So if you get these rewards and cash back, it's just counted as an adjustment in the price of the purchase rather than as additional income. So this is, I think, an interesting angle that a lot of people will be, kind of considering going forward if, if these taxes do go through. And beyond that, at the bottom here, we got somewhat of a bullish engulfing candle, something I always look out for as the bottom of a trend. And, a lot of these assets are still moving downwards. So the fact that StormX kind of found this bottom here and, is bouncing back with a bullish engulfing candle is encouraging for me. And like John said, we love to look for volume, and StormX has actually seen very strong volume in the last 24 hours. Obviously, a lot of that has been bearish volume, but volume nonetheless. So, I think StormX is in an interesting position. A lot of people were upset they missed the bus when this thing ran up to almost 10 cents. And, now it's back down at 3 cents. So take a look at StormX. I think, there's some really, really tremendous potential there. That is my Doge of the day.
Cool. Well, remember, folks, Voyager is the sponsor of this program. So if you like the program, and of course, we provide it free each business day, then maybe give some love over at Voyager. They'll give you some love back if you type in Rebel25 as a promo code. That's REBEL 25. They'll give you $25 in Bitcoin when you open your account and fund it. And well, actually, they give it to you even before you fund it, I believe. So again, that's Voyager, and you can find them right in the App Store. It's a fabulous, easy to use app. It's right there on my phone. I love it, and trade on it all day. Also, if you'd like to join CJ and Monty and their team in the Market Rebellion crypto room, where they've got charts and chat, it costs you $1 to check it out for your first month. $1 for your first month. You can decide for that $1 whether all of that great information and charting and so forth is something that helps you make more money in crypto. So with that said, I hope you all have a great weekend, and Monty and CJ and I'll be back here Monday. By the way, I'll say it here first. I'm flying out Monday to do the Adam Carolla show out in Glendale, California. So I'm really looking forward to that.
That's awesome. You're headed to his compound out there?
Heading to his compound, going to check out all those Paul Newman race cars he's got. and it should be very cool. I've enjoyed his insights and commentary for years with Loveline and all that kind of stuff. And I'm really looking forward to seeing Gina Grad and Bald Brian and Dawson with that deep rumbly voice. This is Dawson. I'm looking forward to seeing all of you guys out there, maybe even the Porcelain Punisher. So if you remember that, because you have to be real fans to know who the Porcelain Punisher is. But Fondelier. But anyway, that's where I'll be Monday, but we will be back on air Monday with the Daily Crypto Byte. See you then.
Huddle strong this weekend, people.